Welcome back to the Success Blueprint with Greider and Peterson. We are so glad you guys are here listening. And this is a review, a little bit of this year, but also just of the market as it stands, and maybe even a little bit of a look at next year, at this coming year as far as 2026, what's going to happen in 2026. I think a lot of people are asking those questions of themselves, and a lot of people are kind of wondering what to do. Some people have been holding off buying or selling a home.
Yeah.
And so today we have Katie Guthrie here with us.
Hi.
Who is an awesome agent on our team.
Happy to be here.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you so much.
So thanks for coming and hanging out, and always has a good input on this. So we'll get started. First of all, we'll go over just a little bit of existing home sales. So existing home sales is actually up a little bit, which is kind of interesting because the last few years, it's actually declined a little bit. And so it's nice that we're actually on an upward trend right now. So that's something that's really, really good. So nationally, we're still, about 4 million homes sold. Mm-hmm. Whereas in pandemic, looks like we're around 6 million.
But we are approaching.
So,
I mean, we are getting up there again, so that's good.
Yeah, so it's good. So it looks like, we've been coming down, like I said, for a little bit. At least it looks like, on paper at least, it looks like we've kind of bottomed out. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully we're just starting to see that rise.
We're just on the trend up, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit later about locally of how that's trending as well. Mm-hmm. So on the next one, it's showing really new home sales year-to-date August. So pre-COVID to now. So if you go back to before COVID, we're about at those same levels. So that's not bad. I mean, what's your thought on COVID when that spike hit?
It was crazy.
It was just crazy.
Just the market was just insane. So I mean, that's kind of when I'm talking to people now is we kind of compare everything to that time and where we're at now versus that. So that, I mean, it definitely makes sense but it is interesting, I think, the new home sales, that those are down versus existing home sales, which are up.
Yeah.
So,
which hasn't been the case. So once COVID kind of slowed down a little bit, and we kind of started to see these slowdowns in 2021 and 22, existing sales is really where it got hurt. Mm-hmm. And new sales almost spiked. I mean, they kind of came up a little bit, which is kind of interesting. And so they're down, not a lot, but they're down 1.2%, whereas existing home is up just a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of shifting of the tides a little bit right now.
Yeah.
So that's good. So total home sales is still, this is basically per capita per 1,000 residents, how many people are buying or selling a home in that time period. And so in 2025, we're just under 15. It looks like we're at about 14 sales. So for
it is pretty low
per
right
1,000
now.
people.
Yeah.
Looks like the COVID years spiked, but it's pretty interesting because home sales, I don't know if that's just population growth.
Maybe.
I would think that's what it is a little bit of population growth and so forth, because in 2000, even in the 2005 range, it looked like it was up over, 26, 27 people per 1,000 residents were buying a home in that year. And so now it's dipped a little bit for sure. Yeah. Even in COVID, it didn't hit those levels. And so a lot of that's probably just population growth.
I mean, it is interesting like we had said, it kind of is bottoming out. So hopefully we're on the trend, but it has gone, we've been pretty low as we have been in the last 25 years, the last few years. So.
Yeah, kind of interesting to watch that. We'll kind of see how that trends as well. If that starts to trend up a little bit, hopefully it does, because I think homeownership is one of those things that helps people gain net worth faster than anything else. Yeah.
Well, that's, the way that the market is now, I've had people ask, how do I get in the market? Because it's just crazy how expensive it is. And you have to get in any way that you can, even if it's getting something, a townhouse, even if it's getting something lower.
Getting something smaller than what you anticipated.
Yeah, exactly. Just for the time being. And then you can kind of move from there and move with the market.
I like that. We've talked about that before, just getting to something in that you're comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And then you can move up. And then you can move up. It's a stepping stone. So it doesn't have to be that perfect house to start out
Exactly. With. And if you save for the perfect house, you're just going to keep saving, right?
Yeah. So this obviously talking about existing home sales as they were up. They kind of were slowly, gradually going up for a long time, leveled off between about It looks like the 2015 through about 21, or actually through about 20. And then first COVID first hit, it dipped, and then it spiked. And so, 6.5 million sales were in the very peak in COVID. And we're back down right around 4 million, just over 4 million now. But that trend line is starting to dip up just a little bit again. So hopefully we've been kind of at the bottom and we're starting to see growth from here on out.
Upward trend.
So the home ownership rate per age group, which is kind of interesting, which is 2022 versus 2025. So back in 2022, home ownership, looking at that across the board, the only age group that's higher now than it was in 2022 is 55 to 64, which is pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
Under, of course, 35, 39% of those were homeowners, whereas now only 36% are, which
reduced,
is reduced quite a bit. The others are pretty stable, but that one's reduced quite a bit. So
why do you think 55 to 64 is up versus the others?
Of the homeownership now? I don't know. I think that's interesting. We're 75 and barely 75.8.
I mean, it's not too much of a change, but it is that, it is increased versus the others, which are decreased.
And that's that interesting age group, right? Like that age group is kind of like, okay, are we thinking about going into something different? Maybe they're thinking into, some of those are thinking of possibly purchasing something in a 55 or older community, or sometimes they're thinking about getting a second home down in, somewhere warm.
Yeah.
And so that trend is a little bit of that transition phase in that period. And so there could be some of that where maybe some of those now are purchasing, whereas in 2022 they were renting. When they made that choice.
That's true.
So that's the only thing I can think of why that would happen. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see that. So the 5-year price home gains, I kind of like this. This map is cool because Idaho is right up there. There's only a handful of states that are ahead of the price gains over the last 5 years. Idaho has spiked, which is good for those who have been in homes, not as good for people who aren't trying to get into homes, right?
Yeah.
So Idaho has grown. The percent change in pricing is 69.5% just in the last 5 years. That's a pretty good increase.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care what kind of investment you're in. That is an unbelievable increase. And so there's only a handful. Looks like you got Tennessee's ahead, Florida's ahead. Looks like North Carolina's ahead.
Maine.
Oh, and Maine's way up
crazy.
there. Maine's 80%.
Yeah.
So they've gone crazy too. So middle of the country, not as much.
Yeah.
Especially in the South, with the exception of Tennessee. But middle of the country, not as much. And even California, not as much. They're pretty low as far as, they were higher to start with. So they still grew, but just not the gains that we saw.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting. Then what we've talked about before, net worth, of course, net worth of individuals of owning homes versus not is huge. The last graph I saw was, I think the average net worth across the board of renters or tenants was about $5,000, whereas the net worth of homeowners was about $400,000.
Makes a big
which
difference.
Is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But this is just showing the total net worth of real estate. So that has a couple of factors. It has how many people actually own real estate, and then also how many, what's that real estate worth? And so that's definitely grown. We're actually just under $40 trillion of net worth in the U.S., which is pretty crazy. We're getting these are all from the National Association of Realtors. So as an agent, if you're an agent listening, of course you can pull that up and pull all these slides up. If not, then call an agent or call us. We can send these to you or go over them a little bit closer. So delinquent mortgages, this is kind of interesting too. So I've heard, and some of these show that some of the things that, a lot of people were worried about people just going delinquent on mortgages now because they got in when it was really high, even though interest rates were low, and now they're not paying their mortgages. Looks like we did see a little spike, but really not terrible. I mean, really, it's still down under 2% of mortgages are delinquent right now, which is pretty good.
Well, and you look at back in 2010 where there's a lot of that going on, right? You had lots of foreclosures, lots of delinquents, and I mean we're nowhere near those.
Yeah, and it's interesting in that one little spike where the delinquents go up in 2020 for COVID, the the foreclosures didn't go up. That just kind of stayed stable. So a lot of those were taking advantage of the deferred payments and those kind of things, and the deferrals that they were having at the time. And and unfortunately, a lot of people we're seeing now trying to sell their home are having to pay those off at higher rates and things like that, which is kind of unfortunate. But that was something that we wanted to look at. So the forecast for 2026, a lot of people have been expecting a recession, but I don't really see that. I don't see that happening. I think things are actually getting stronger, which is pretty good. The data blackout during the government shutdown, that really didn't affect a lot. I mean, I know some individuals were definitely absolutely affected, but the overall market really wasn't.
No, the market didn't change much at all.
I mean, saw the stock market being volatile at that time, but job gains are weakening. So job gains have been so strong the last couple of years that they are weakening, but that's kind of expected that it's weakening because our unemployment rate's pretty low right now. Consumers aren't happy about the future, which is kind of funny to me because some people, I think consumers in general, everything that I've seen on this, and I don't know if you've seen different, but it seems like people haven't been happy. They're not excited about the future, but their spending habits haven't changed, or their spending is still there.
Yeah, no, they haven't. It's not like they're prepping for anything in the future, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you think if they were really worried about it, that they would start saving and some of that would lack, but it hasn't been at all.
I think we've heard it many times, right? Everybody's waiting for interest rates to drop or something to happen, but they're not necessarily, they're not thinking so much about real estate. They're more thinking about their everyday spending, right? They're not thinking more about the future necessarily.
That's one thing too. I'm back on that one slide about the delinquencies. I believe that delinquency rate is still under 2, but it's much, much higher for credit cards and auto loans and those kind of things, which is kind of interesting. So, but anyway, so consumers are defaulting loans, but not mortgage loans. So that's kind of where that comes into play, is that they are defaulting on some of those other things, some of the revolving credit and that.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And so, but as we go forward, of course, lower mortgage rates are going to be helpful, of course.
Yeah.
This just goes over the Federal Reserve rate. And so we're just under 4 right now for the Federal Reserve. And so, which is good. I mean, we're heading definitely in the right direction, right? They anticipate, most things I've read, I don't know if you read the same thing, most things I've read, it said they anticipate at least one more, maybe a couple more next year.
Yeah.
So that would be good. I mean, especially that affects the commercial world, right? If you're commercial loans, most of these are based on prime and that, whereas mortgages, it doesn't affect quite as much directly, but the commercial, if you're wanting to get into some commercial loans or getting a commercial building or anything like that, it definitely affects that directly.
Yeah. And
then as we see here, this is something that we see a lot where the Fed rate's dropping, but then you see a little increase in the mortgage rate. So,
well, and everybody thinks that they're directly like they're the same, but they're not. I mean, they have an effect, obviously, but
it's true. Sometimes
we're seeing in this way, right, where it's going down, mortgage rates are going up. So
yeah, and so rates are still right around that 6, right around 6, maybe just over 6 right now, which is kind of where we've been. We started out at a 6.7, 6.8 at the beginning of the year, and we've kind of slid down, and now we're in the low 6s. Some are getting into the high 5s, I know, and for some of their loans, depending on the loan program they're on. So we're not in a bad spot. And everything I've read is pushing that even if the Fed rate's going forward even a little bit lower, they anticipate the mortgage rate staying pretty close to the same throughout the year.
Maybe going down a little bit, but there's no increase.
Yeah, that's hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully no increase.
True.
But
wish we could predict.
So what does that mean to the buyer? If we know the mortgage rates are going to stay fairly flat this year, what does that mean for a buyer?
It means now's the time to buy.
Yeah, it does. I mean, there's no reason to keep waiting, right?
Yeah.
Because you keep waiting. And as we've seen home sales start to go up, with that inevitably comes prices start to creep up again.
Yeah.
They've been creeping down a little bit. And so...
Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw that line was starting to kind of go up, increase in sales. That will increase price, right? So if interest rates are the same, now's the time to buy, where before your pricing goes up And if interest rates do go down, then let's, get some refinancing in there. But
Absolutely.
at least you get the lower home price for sure.
Love that. And if they go up, you're glad you got in when you did.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, I like that. So job gains, this is job gains per state. And again, actually on this one, Idaho is number 1.
Jeez.
So Idaho has had more job gains. So you Idahoans out there, it's awesome. I mean, it's a good thing. The job market here is actually very good, especially when compared to the rest of the country. Since pre-COVID, our job gains have been 14%. The closest one to Idaho looks like Utah, 13.2. And then you've got a few in the 11 range, kind of in Texas and Florida and so forth. Those states, it seems like as far as job gains go, it looks like red states are kind of carrying the day on this one.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, Oregon, 2.8. Man.
Yeah, Oregon's one of the lowest.
Yeah.
For sure. Oregon and Louisiana, unfortunately, and that. So anyway, yeah, this is kind of a fun map to look at just to kind of see where we're at compared to the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Wow. So nationwide forecast. So this is based on the National Association of Realtors. There's a gentleman there who I really like. I shouldn't say I really like him. It's not like he's my best friend. I've met him one time, but he does a lot of the forecasting for the National Association of Realtors. And his name is Lawrence Yoon, and he's great. So he's the one that puts this slide deck together. And so existing home sales, 2025 overall for the nation was kind of zero. So zero increase or decrease. So they were kind of flat for the last year based on from 2025 to 2020 or 2025 to 2026. They expect it this year, 2026, to go up 14% nationally.
That's
so
crazy.
We can talk about that a little bit, what we think here locally, but nationally they expect that 14%. So
that's a lot.
So yeah, I mean, they're not always right?
No.
I mean, they do a pretty good job usually. I think last year, of looking back, if we roll this back 1 year, he had predicted about a 2 to 3% growth nationally. Yeah. So he's not too far off.
No,
he knew
he's
it was
not.
going to be pretty flat. And so next year they're thinking 14%, which would be good.
Yeah.
New home sales, a little bit less of a growth, but still growth. Whereas this year we were down a little bit in new home sales. Next year they expect that to be up just a little bit, 5%.
Yeah.
Median home price. This year, home prices overall went up about 3%. We didn't see that. I think part of that is because we saw that huge growth in COVID where some didn't, where our home prices were almost a little over double what they were worth just a few years prior.
Yeah.
So when we had that spike, we did come down just a little bit last year, but nationally we went up 3%. Next year, they anticipate another 4% increase,
so
which 4%,
slightly.
Yeah, just slightly, right? And 4% is kind of that trend line. Like if you took the last, since they've been keeping track, say 100 years of home sales and home growth, home increase in prices, it's been about that trend line's about 4%. Of course, there's peaks and valleys in that, but so we're kind of expecting us to get back to the average, which is huge compared to where we've been the last 3 years.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Awesome. Yeah, so mortgage rates and job gains, those are all kind of expected to be very similar. Not job gains, not maybe as much as they anticipated originally, but still gains, which is good. And unemployment staying about the same. And then now we're local. So this is just a look of annual year-over-year sales. So where are we at on this one?
We're up. We're up for the year. And we were up 4% more than we were last year. No, 5% more.
Yeah, which is good, right? So it looks like we have hit the bottom. So 5.8% up this year over last year, and last year we were up almost 2 from the year before after 3 straight years of drops.
Yep.
So it dropped.
Well, and 23 was significant, right? -11.
Yeah, exactly, and 22, right? So you've got over those 3 years, we dropped probably a little over 30%.
Jeez.
And so now we've gained back between the 5.8 and the 1.7. So we've gained back about 8%, essentially.
Yeah, but we're on that upward
7-8%.
trend, like we've been talking about, right? We're kind of heading that direction.
Yeah,
So
which is
that's a
all
thing.
good signs as we kind of move forward into this.
Into 2026, yeah.
Yeah. So average monthly sales, of course, which is, I always like to show this one because I think people always assume sales drop off the face and no one buys anything in the winter here.
Yeah.
People
it's still
still
moving.
buy a lot of real estate in the winter here. I mean, 5.7% in January, which is by far our slowest month, but still 6%.
Yeah, it doesn't drop down to 1.
Yeah,
right?
where the
It's still
peak is
moving.
only 10%. So that's still a lot of people that are buying and selling. So
Yeah.
if you're thinking, well, I really just have to wait till spring, may not be the right move.
No, I mean in spring, right? It gets saturated. You have so many people that
True.
are wanting to move at that point too. That sometimes your time to move is in the winter. I know not everybody wants to move in the snow, but
I had one client who sold, I think they sold 3 houses with me, and they told me once that they only like to sell in the winter because they have a little bit less showings, but the people who come are way more interested.
that's true.
Because you don't have all the, oh, well, let's just go look at houses for fun, kind of the date night looky loose, right?
You're out with a purpose, right?
That's right. That's right. If you're looking in the middle of winter, you've got to buy,
Yes.
right? So,
Yep.
cool.
Love it.
So this is one of my favorites actually for local information, just the amount closed. So right now, over the last 6 years, 2025, we have the highest days on market. So days on market, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's great. It means that, then this is your average, right? So you're going to have some houses that sell earlier than that and some that sell later, but this is the average days from when you list your house to when you go pending.
Okay, awesome.
When you're under contract. So we've seen that increase kind of throughout the year, and now we're at a high for the last 6 years. So that's one thing to remember when you're listing your house is everybody now is still kind of in that pre-COVID time, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm going to be listed for a week and I should have an offer, and that's not always going to be the case. And like I said, some are going to be below average, but then and some are above, but around there, about 2 months.
Awesome. I always tell people too, this is kind of an indicator of how long we have before we really need to get serious about price drops. If it's at 66 as it is now, as our average for the last 3 months, that's what it's been. If we're at that average for the last 3 months, then probably about halfway into that, 30 days, maybe 25 days, a little bit before halfway, we really need to start looking at dropping that price. If we go over that, then that's when we start chasing the market down.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do. And once in a while, you have a very, very unique house that you just cannot duplicate. And that might be a little bit different story. But for the most part, if you're in a neighborhood and there's somewhat similar homes around you,
and you have comparables,
and you have good comparables in that, then you're going to really have to start thinking about those price reductions within about 25 to 30 days, which is longer than it had been, right?
Yeah.
Back in 21, when there's only 28 days, if you didn't reduce your price after 5, you're probably hurting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, and it's important too that if you are on the market for an average of 2 months, right, that you have a listing agent that regularly is checking the market to make sure that you are priced correctly. Because in that 2 month period of time, who knows how many houses are going to sell within that time.
Yep.
You want to make sure you're always competitive with the market still.
Yep, that's good. And then one of the biggest indicators on this chart is the expired and withdrawns. So 597 looks like is high. It's the highest in the last, actually that goes back a long time. That's probably the highest it's ever been in our market, that 597 number. Whereas sales is only 910. So we're like 60%.
Yeah.
65% of homes that are hitting the market are either expiring or withdrawn. So that just means typically that they're too high priced. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I was going to say, like I said, going back to COVID times, right? I think there are still a lot of sellers that are thinking that they can list for those prices where we have come down from there. We're not where that was. We're still good. We're still in a good spot, but you can't list as high, or you have to be moving and adjusting with the market as well, right? Like I said, the 66 days.
It's true. And sometimes people only look at the average sold price. So if you look at average sold price, we're doing pretty good, right? I mean, we're down a little bit from last year, but not a lot. 443 was last year, and 441,000 is the average price this year in 2025. But that doesn't necessarily mean the value of your home. What that means, that is actually going over because interest rates and those things affect the higher homes less. So if you have $1 million or $800 to say $1.5 million home, that's affected less by interest rates than the $200,000-$300,000 homes because those people typically are in a better position to buy those than someone who's buying a first-time home.
It's not as tight, yeah.
And so all that means is that we are selling more of the higher-end homes than we were then versus values do affect it, of course. If values go up, then all of it goes up as well. But right now, that's kind of what we're seeing is total numbers not going up and the values aren't going up or hadn't been going up the last 3 years, but the kind of the ratio of bigger homes versus smaller homes has changed. Cool. So the annual rates, of course, we're at about 6 now. The average right now, average is kind of a little bit different. What's nice about Idaho is our average is lower. So our average is right around 6, whereas the national average is at 6.624 for November. And so we're actually a little bit under the average. And I don't know if that's just better credit scores or better. It's probably a combination of different things. But yeah, Idaho is a little bit under the national average for rates, which is kind of nice. But still, if we're at 6 right now, which is what most people are, we're right about the 30-year average, just slightly bigger, slightly higher, maybe a tenth higher than the 30-year average. And we're definitely lower than the 50-year average.
Yeah.
So, people were definitely used to those rates a long time ago, but we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot. If they continue to come down at all over the next year, even 0.25%, we'll be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, we're holding, and I would say we're holding steady. There was a lot of up and down before, but I think we've definitely come down from the 7-9, right?
Yeah. So we've got a bunch of the county specific charts and that. So we'll probably only hit on a couple of them. Let's hit Bonneville County because that's obviously 90 or probably, at least 60% of the total sales in this area, right, are in Bonneville County. So we'll hit that one, and then we'll let you pick the other one if you want to hit up Island Park or if you want to hit up Bingham or whatever county you want to hit on. So Bonneville County first, 3.1 months of inventory. That just means that we're still in a buyer's or a seller's market. Which is kind of crazy. So sellers are still getting pretty close. They're getting 98.5% of asking, which is pretty great.
And we have seen that come down a little bit. I remember at one point in the year we were seeing about 100% or 99.8% of asking. So we have seen that come down just a little bit, but definitely still in a seller's market for sure.
And that number is after any price drops. So that is what it was priced at when they got the offer. So it doesn't include price drops on that. So just to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And Bonneville County, we're better, 50 days on market.
Oh, below average.
Yeah. So we're a little bit under where we're at for the whole area for sure. So that's good.
That's good.
But right now, sales and the number, so just under 500 homes on the market, which is pretty good. COVID, I think we were under 100 every time. So pretty crazy. 435,000 is the average in Bonneville County. As far as the average price point. And again, that has to do with the number of sales. As you see there, closed in the last 6 months. Pre-COVID, Bonneville County was selling maybe 2 to 3 homes a year that are over $1 million. Last 6 months, there's been 12 that have closed. And so if we're doing 24 a year versus 2 to 3 a year now. So that's a big reason, part of the reason why the average sold price is skewed a little bit. Yep.
What I was going to say too is we have the number of pendings at 150. So, we've got a lot on the market, but we're seeing a lot are selling as well. So we have a lot under contract.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Overall, with the ones closing versus what we have in the market, we're at 3.1, which is low, right? The months of inventory is pretty low here. So that's good. That's good. That's a good sign for Bonneville County for sure.
Yeah.
So where do you want to go next? Do you want to go up to Jefferson or Madison, or where do you want to go?
Let's do Island Park.
Okay.
Island Park's always a fun one to look at.
Island Park, especially this time of year, right?
I know.
And it's a little bit slower this time of year as far as their number of sales and that, where they only have 5 homes pending right now. That's just a snapshot, right? That could change next hour. But
and they're right where we technically are in the winter time. I guess we don't have snow at the moment, but that could change at any day now, right? But yeah.
Yeah, so they're at 6.2 months of inventory, which is actually just over the threshold. So it's considered a little bit more of a buyer's market. And that's why you see their sell to list ratio down at 95%. So they're having to reduce their homes a little bit more. I mean, as you see, even in the 1.5 to 2 million range, they're down at 84%.
Oh, wow.
That's only on a 3-home sample size, but still 84%, that's a pretty big price drop when you're talking, $1.5 to $2 million.
Yeah, well, especially compared to the rest of the markets that we've seen, where they're pretty close to that sales to list ratio.
Yeah,
that high ratio.
Well, and there again, I mean, their price point's a little bit higher, $879, and that's because looks like they've got about 25 homes.
Over $1 million.
Well, 20 homes essentially over $1 million that have sold in the last 6 months. Even though their total number of sales is 65.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but Island Parks, it's still going up there. It's just a little bit slower, right? Only 5 pending right now. Winter's always a little bit different. Once in a while, we see a small spike during the holidays just because so many people are vacationing up there. They have 2 weeks. They want to run up there to snowmobile and things like that. And so we might see a little bit of these closing spikes come soon in January. Once those are closing in January and February, that could go up a little bit. But yeah, right now they're still fairly strong. I mean, even though they are a little bit above more in a buyer's market. So
that average days on market is high as well, just because it's slower, right?
Yeah, 107 days on market. So things are definitely sitting up there. So if you have homes and listings up there, that's something to look at. If you want to be the one to sell, you've got to be, well, one, you've got to be priced right, but you've got to have an agent that's going to be able to tell you that, right? I think so many times agents just get caught up and they want to try to sell it for whatever they want, which is great. I mean, I love that sentiment, but it's not going to happen, right? And so in this market, and so you want somebody that's going to tell you just the facts of what are going on in the market there. So that you can get it sold.
And all of these things are important to look at as an agent, right? Is to look at, well, okay, what are the average days on the market? What is the sale to list? What's the ratio of what people are getting, and how competitive are we with the rest of the houses on the market? So, for example, in Island Park, right, you've got the $800 to $900,000 range. You have 12 listings, so that's pretty significant on comps that you can look at on where we're at and where we're priced.
And 0 pending in that price point right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is kind of good just to kind of know where we're at. Their homes do still sell up there, again, in the winter, but you just don't have quite as much traffic. And a lot of people pull their homes off the market. So that number, we have 67 right now of listings. That'll increase as spring hits, of course.
Yeah.
So, awesome. So overall, what would you advise if somebody came to you, and we get this all the time, right? Somebody comes to you and says, "So, Katie, how's the market?" So we've gone over a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a kind of a loaded question, right? But what in your mind, what do people need to know right now as far as the market goes in general?
And I actually just had a conversation, like you said, we get asked this all the time on whether they should buy right now or they should wait. And I think we are seeing, I would say we're more of a fair and balanced market at this point. So we still are technically a seller's market, but buyers are able to come and still have discussions and negotiate what they need and what they want. So sure, they're not able to come back and come under $40,000 under asking, right? And ask for those types of things, but they're able to negotiate and say, hey, we need closing costs, or hey, they come down a little bit on price, right? We're at 98%. In Bonneville County, they're able to negotiate a little bit. And I would say, and interest rates aren't going anywhere. They've come down a little bit. They're not coming down significantly enough that, and obviously we don't have a crystal ball. We can't predict what's going to happen in 2026. But I would say now is a great time to buy. Yeah. Especially with inventory where it's at, you have more options than we have in a long time. Find the house that you love and have an agent that's showing you and can negotiate for you and start your new home, or start 2026 in a new home, right?
Do it, right? Yeah, I mean, that's the case. And right now, of course, in the winter, like you said, people that are looking, and sometimes people that are selling, there's a reason why they're doing it in the winter, right? So it's not a bad time. I would say I've never talked to anybody that says they wish they waited, and I've said this before, but they wish they waited to buy the home. They wish they waited 2-3 years to buy the home. 99.9% of the time, it's the opposite. It's like, oh, I wish I would have bought 2 years before, or I wish I would have bought the year before. And so a lot of people are kind of hanging out on the sidelines once interest rates went up. But I think now's the time. All indicators right now are showing that we've kind of hit that bottom and things are starting to go up. And as things go up, everything goes up. Prices go up, competition goes up, everything goes up. And so if that's true, whether that takes a year or 2 years or 3 years to really hit the stride, still we're at a pretty good spot right now.
Yeah.
And so it'd be a good thing to jump into.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah. Thanks. Happy to be here.
Appreciate you being here, and we appreciate you guys being here, and see you next time.